Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you, and welcome to another episode of Responses to Critics on QNet TV, Quranists Network Television. In the program Responses to Critics, what we do is we have a dialogue with various parties who have made remarks which we disagree with, and we try to provide a Quranic perspective, a Quranist perspective rather, and inshallah we allow for the audience to make a decision for themselves. On tonight's program, we hope to answer the arguments made by Abu Usamah al-Dhahabi. Abu Usamah al-Dhahabi is a traditionalist scholar, and he made some interesting remarks about Hadith and Sunnah, and he even had a very interesting analogy which we will come to possibly in part 2 of this episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. Right, so in minute 9 of this presentation, you should be able to link up to this presentation by clicking on the link below. So on minute 9 of this presentation, Abu Usamah presents what he calls a prophecy by Rasulullah. So we've actually already addressed this issue about Rasulullah and prophecies. Indeed, in our previous episode, where we had a dialogue with Shaikh Faiz, we showed 2 verses which clearly shows that Rasulullah, number one, he did not know future events unless Allah showed him in the Quran, and he claims that he only follows what is revealed to him, and that is proven again to be the Quran. So there are 2 ayat which you should look at for this, and that is chapter 46 verse 9 and chapter 10 verse 15. If you just observe that should appear on text as well. Right, so for the sake of argument, let's accept that this prophecy is correct. This prophecy states that there will come a time where there will be plenty of fitna, trials and tribulations. And Rasulullah was reported to have said that whoever clings to my Sunnah and the Sunnah of the Khulafa al-Rashideen, which are the 4 rightly guided caliphs, he will be alright, he will be saved. So here we need to ask Abu Usamah, which Sunnah is he referring to? Because the Sunnah, to be absolutely precise, is not what Rasulullah did, said or abstained from, but rather what someone said Rasulullah said, did or abstained from. There is a big difference between the two, very big difference. We're not just trying to quibble here. We can possibly point you to minute 23 of Abu Usamah's video as well. In minute 23, Abu Usamah imputes the rest of the Sunnis for celebrating the birthday of the Prophet. The majority of the Sunnis in the world celebrate the birthday of the Prophet, but Abu Usamah belongs to a minority group within the Sunnis called the Salafis. And the Salafis consider this act to be an act of Bida'a, innovation. So when Rasulullah says, my Sunnah, cling to my Sunnah, Abu Usamah believes that he has the right version of this Sunnah. However, Sunnis disagree with him. So this is it. I mean, the Sunnah is not something absolute. It is relative to one's understanding and one's acceptance of certain texts. So that's the first argument. Let's move on to the second argument. So that now takes us to minute 11.15. Abu Usamah quotes another hadith where he says, where the story goes that someone came to Rasulullah and he said, I will only make halal halal, I will only make haram haram. In other words, he will keep the halal and haram. He will do his 5 daily prayers, and he will fast in the month of Ramadan, and that's all he's going to do. And Rasulullah said, okay, you will be successful. That's all you need to do, in other words. Unfortunately, this is not parallel to the Quran's teachings. The Quran does not give such an easy access to paradise. As much as people would like it to be so, unfortunately the Quran does not give that. The Quran quotes no less than 3 times how difficult it will be to enter paradise. If you look at chapter 29, verses 2 to 3, Allah says, do the people think they will be left to say we believe and they will not be tried and tested? Verily we have certainly tried those before them, and Allah will make evident those who are truthful, and He will make evident the liars. That is actually quite strong. So some people who say we believe are actually liars. Why? Because they did not take the trial. They were not tested and approved, as it were. Yeah. The next ayat, Allah says, or do you think that you will enter paradise while Allah has not yet known those of you who fight in His cause and made evident those who are steadfast? Steadfast, the sabireen. So we need to prove that we are indeed of the sabireen before we can enter Jannah. The next ayat, and this is possibly the strongest one. Or do you think that you will enter paradise while such trials has not come to you as came to those who passed on before you? They were touched by poverty and hardship and were shaken until their messenger and those who believed with him said, when will come the help of Allah? The messenger said this. So you can imagine the messenger who had an almost unimpeachable character. He said this. That's how terrible the trials are. But Allah says, verily the help of Allah is near. So Abu Usamah, unfortunately this hadith contradicts the spirit of these verses. You can't accept a hadith like this. This is against your own principles of ulumul hadith. The hadith cannot contradict the Quran. Right, so this wraps up part 1 of this episode. And we hope you will tune in to part 2, where we will continue this dialogue with Abu Usamah. Thank you for your viewership. Bye.